Welcome back. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? Wow, that's crazy. That thing got stuffed hard. Gapped through the breakout level. Man. Q, yo, yo. What's crack-a-lackin'? Chris B, yo, yo. Did you catch DJ? Check out this chart. Check out this chart. Drum roll, please. Bam! I'm off desk right around 11. Just before. So the move from 30 to 37, I wasn't even on desk core. But I think I made 9 cents right in there. Same kind of thing. Pre-market high break, and it just gets stuffed, so moved on. Fades back to lows. Once it reclaimed VWAP right around here. One last little rejection, and then it was off to the races, but conviction for the bigger picture bounce, too excited for it, trade like crap. Yeah, that's relatable. Dawson is waiting for my questions. I wouldn't say waiting, but we'll get to him if you ask him. Yeah, Q, I've done that a million times where super confident it happened, like I'm already prepared for it to be like an A plus outlier day. I come into the day just looking to nail it, and then those are the ones that I screw up when the ones just kind of fall into my lap, and I just kind of trade them, just basically out of comfort, like how I think it. It's like no problem, whatever, but could have made 10R but only 3R. Yeah, that's tough. And those are the days that I think, rather than the ones that are like that you're looking at your losers, like how you can do better at those. I think stuff like that, when you could have nailed something and was an A plus setup for you, I think those are the ones that are more worthwhile for reviewing. How you can maximize the winners instead of getting rid of all the losers. Wasn't even aggressive on open. I waited for under. Wow, nice. Nice job. Nice job. Sub VWAP entries. Like once we got that double bottom off pre-market, this move was really frustrating for me to watch this thing go all the way from 28 up to 32 basically. Drove me nuts. But I was hoping for like a flush off the open and dips versus 28 pre-market lows. And instead we got a shove, which is what it's done each of these prior days before fading back to lows. Didn't get that flush off the open like I wanted, so I was patient as well for a pullback entry. Once we pulled back, then I bought the higher low. But I did buy that pre-market dip, small size. Yep. Yeah, Q and I were looking for the exact same thing. Let me see here. I could see DJT going back to mid 40s. Yeah, this bound it could keep going easily. Like you do have voting coming in tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 5th, like the catalyst. I had this 44, 43, 44 line drawn as prior support and prior resistance. This is definitely the key level. If we were to get a parabolic into this tomorrow, I would definitely look to lean that short. But Fun is also moving with it, which it hasn't done in the past few days. So ideally, you can get some spikes on this one and fade that one back down. But yeah, Q and I, you and I were on the same page. Same kind of idea, but especially with it trying to do it for so many days, I think this gap down was definitely a sign of a possible reversal. The sub 30, everybody's exhausted, etc., etc. It all kind of lined up back into bigger picture support. But the way in which it did it, the morning action to actually get there, and then by the time it already proved itself, like up here, once it's consolidating over VWAP, now your risk reward is so shot because it didn't set up perfectly. So it was a hard one to nail, but I think definitely worth reviewing on how we can do better. How's it going, Dawson? Says Google. How do you zoom in and out on DAS trader charts like you're doing? Well, you can do, so like I do it like this, where like it scrolls slowly, and that's just using the scroll on your mouse, or you can do it like that. But like zooming in, you can hold down Shift and draw a square, and it'll zoom into that area. Or you can use these plus or minus buttons, and that'll zoom in. But I usually use the scroll, and I have a trackpad. So I'm scrolling on that mouse, and then I can swipe side to side with it to move left and right, and then up and down to go in and out. It's probably in the settings somewhere. I'd have to look, like I don't. Oh yeah, it is. So if you right click on your DAS chart and then click on configure, you can scroll down to mouse wheel settings, and it says use mouse wheel to scroll instead of zoom. And that's what I use. Mine is super slow. Yeah, in that same area, you can adjust the scroll speed in that same little configure menu. Are you borrowing if no Trump victory? Borrowing, I imagine, like looking for a short. Well, like I've been saying kind of all along, there's no reason for this to be up. Like just by Trump running for president, there's no reason for the company to have increased in value just because he's running for president. Like even if he wins, that doesn't change the value of this company. So it was all hype. I do think as close as I can get to this 44 level, the better. And I would be looking for a short trade down the line. Fun is even more like wild. Like at least DJT is called Trump Media. Like at least his name is in there. Fun was just a sympathy trade that has run with it in the past. So this one definitely has no reason to be up. So they are higher the better shorts. Like once tomorrow comes and goes, there's no reason for these things to be up. The hype is coming on. After that 29 washout, I started long for the V-shaped recovery, but I got too aggressive with the pyramiding. I got stopped out when it washed under VWAP again, and it literally got bought back up after that. I ended up just buying the ABCD, and it worked out. Let me take a look. So after it washed out to 29, right here or pre-market? Probably here. Open, yeah. So the sub 29 washout was over here. And then you got too aggressive and got stopped out when it washed under VWAP. Not pre-market, the pre-market. Yeah. And then over here, once it washed, sub VWAP trap. And that's the thing, like, this had its shove. You've got this failed fall through level here in the 3150s. So now this grind back straight up into prior failed fall through. You've got this hard crack, double top, and then a failed fall through line and a sub VWAP fail. Like that looks like weak action. I don't think there's any problem with getting stopped out there. And then you ended up buying the ABCD, which is A, B, higher low, C, and then the D was this breakout here through 3150s. And yeah, that entry never went back below your entry, so you would have been pretty comfy. But nice job nonetheless. Traded it better than me. How do you play a stock in a halt? You do not. Once it's halted, it's not trading. So with momentum stocks, when they start halting, then I typically look to exit into those halts because the gaps out of them are fairly unpredictable. But like, are you using that as support? Please expand. These the chat commentary comes through at a different rate than what I'm talking. So when there's no context around the question, it's hard for me to pinpoint which stock you're referring to or which question or answer you're referring to. So you'll just have to be a bit more precise with that. I also traded Tesla reversal, the Lance Classic, the 2-minute high break right side of the V, I imagine, right there through 240. You get the multi-day sell-off, you get the gap down, capitulation, and wait for the 2-minute bar, prior high break, risk to the lows, and trail it to prior bar lows. Would have stopped you out right here, unfortunately, if you're trading his system. So that little stutter step would have stopped you out on any time frame. NUWE. Yeah, I didn't trade this. Are you using halts as support? Not really. I use like horizontal levels as support. So something like this. If you're able to draw a trend line or like that support, not just a random halt level. Because the halt level is just based on like 10% within like a minute or 10 minutes or whatever. So, no. Personally, no. GNPX, once we got this little intraday rounded action, I was hoping 2 would break today. But because of this higher low trend break here, I figured it was good enough for me to put on a starter and scale into it on a 2 break, but for now just have small size on it. But if 2 breaks, I think 180 comes fairly quick, and then could probably get something similar to this TVGN once it starts breaking. where you get this weak close and then weak gap, weak, and you get starting to get that outlier range. So hopefully something like that. What was that other one? Jivo, I think, was the best example recently. Like this. And then once it breaks, all pops each day. Just get that little stair stepper down. So that's the idea there. LTBR, I don't hate this for a reversal at this point. Now that it's had 1, 2, 3, 4 red days, and today couldn't really go much lower than prior day's lows. So if I can get some weak opens to stabilize off of 7 and join an opening range break, I could see the merit there. Could you go over your VSTE call last Friday? Yes, I can do that. Because I'll go over Playboy as well, because it was a similar idea last night that just didn't work today. I took a loss there. But yeah, LTBR, I think there's enough room back up into the mid 8s. So I'd be using the prior 2 days support as opening range pulls, and then join that for a long. VSTE, if I zoom in here, maybe let's go to a 5-minute. Let me see. There we go. So we got this big first day move on sufficient volume. You got this big volume profile level here at the 2s. And then you've got prior support, prior resistance, and prior support right around this 220-ish magnet. You got this other volume profile level there right in the 220s. Next day, volume completely dies off. So day 1 had 57 million. Day 2 had 1.5 million. This whole day traded 57. This whole day traded 1.5. So volume's completely disappeared. This thing had pushes and consolidated and pushes and consolidated. So you know there's shorts in there. And now with the volume dropping off and price not fading, shorts are now in from these mid 2s, low 2s. And if trend can start to build off of this base, then shorts are in a bind from this day 1 and have no price and no volume to cover into. They're flat around this. So right around here, you get some increased volume to prior days, so it shows that there's some interest. It's starting to build. Each flush sub 220s is holding over under this 2. So 2 to 220 acting as support, which were key levels from that day 1. And then that last swipe is now shorts tripping over each other. Beyond this move, like, I have no idea where it's going to go to. That your guess is as good as mine. But that squeeze is predictable based on day 1 shorts and how it's holding trend. Playboy was the same kind of setup. I took 2 losses on it here. Trying it twice, where you had the same thing. You had big day 1 volume, 138 million. Next day down to 6. So anybody who was short there, they have no place to cover, and trend dips are holding over prior resistance. So I was looking for this to hold and build back through the 140s and get that big picture breakout. And this one just didn't work. Volume didn't really, like, we got a little bit off the open, but volume just didn't come in. This loss here, where I'm buying through opening range highs, and this ad was me moving my risk up to 134, which was, hindsight was kind of dumb. I mean, if it worked through 140s, it would have looked like a good scale. But usually I like to see at least an hour for a low to hold before I move my risk to it. So it was premature process-wise. And then as you can see, the one flush candle sub there hit my stop and took me out. So then I was just like, okay, I'll wait for the 140 trigger, which came. And then I was just, I wasn't going to let this happen again where I stop out early. So I just set a stop off low a day off of that position. And so 2 losses, 2 strikes, and I'm out. But do you use hard stops or mental stops? If I'm on my computer, a lot of like if I've got 1 or 2 positions on, I'll just use mental stops. And if I'm standing at my desk, then I have no problem mental stops. But if I'm getting off desk or if I've got like 5 or 6 positions on, in those 2 cases, I will use hard stops. And for the most part, they work just the same because when I'm risking low a day, I don't want to see it break through low a day and see what happens. I want to get out, and if that was the one last trap that wanted to shake everybody out, I can re-enter. But the vast majority of the time when that level breaks, I'm more glad that I'm out than wishing I was still in it. So it keeps me safe. VSTE. This one still seems like a um, a good watch to me. Daily chart is doing that same kind of thing. We got that push, volume pullback, and then re-breakout. And then you get this push, hasn't gone red yet. Volume starting to drop off. You get that big wick and save into close. So it's holding prior day's VWAP of this big volume day. A nice little steady grind into close. So if this can re-break through 8, you got this day 2 high and this day 1 high in the same area. So if this breaks and builds over 8, I'd say look out. It could get squeezy again. Good history of doing it, so it could happen again. ENSC, it's almost not even worth mentioning. I had put on nothing, like a couple hundred shares just to keep it in my window, because I knew if this was breaking 80 cents, it wouldn't be on a percent gainer. It was just up a couple percent. So I just wanted it in that window so that I could keep checking in and not forget it. But it didn't continue higher off the open. It just kept failing. So I moved on there for next to nothing. But that 80 break is still worth watch to me. GSAT. I like the looks of this. Threw it on watch last night off that watch list for a higher the better. And now this daily is starting to shape up. We got to move from 1 to 180s now in the lows. So at this point, breaking through day 1 pre-market highs and continuing higher, I like to see at least 100% move on these before I look for a retrace. So ideally 1, get a gap up and shove through 2 would be a higher the better type daily that I would look for a first red day down the road. It hasn't gone red now in 2 days, so ideally puts in a third day, and I can get an actual decent setup to shape up there. Luke says, I've never used volume profile before. Could you explain where I could help with building convection? Well, we're not building ovens here. We're not roasting turkeys. You can get some great turkeys over at Costco that they bake them in a nice convection oven. But if you're looking for conviction, then it could help you. But I just like... yeah, I know. I just like to use it because these volume bars, It's the volume of that entire candle. But if you're like, we're trading off of volume and price. So these give me where most of this volume has traded in a horizontal price level. So I'm not having to guess within that candle where most of it went off in the tape. That indicator is showing me. So I just like it as a visual representation. It just helps me see the chart a bit clearer. Golan late as always. B-Fly, not very volatile, but that weak open got absorbed, closed back over 2. Big picture thesis still intact there. SPPL, Speeple, big old squeezer here after hours. Closed here in the low ones, ran as high as $2. So if we can get a gap up parabolic, something up over 70% plus by market open, possible day 2 gap and crap setup. But what I would love personally is if it were to run for another day and then be able to trade a first red day on something like that. But that will be on watch. And then VKTX, this thing got smoked today. So any, like, if you can get a couple buck a share shove, like today's resistance up here in the 68, 69 range, or looking left, prior support in the 70s. So anywhere from 68 to 70, get an opening range or get an opening drive, a shove up into those levels, and then possible round trip red. Wouldn't hate that. DJT, fun, possible gappers into tomorrow, and then maybe a little sell the news setup coming there. Wow, Palantir. Jeez. Big ol' move. Maxon. This thing just can't get going. I was hoping we'd get a move like this where it just goes straight from like 2 to 10 off the lows. If Maxon were to have gone like 6 to 18, like did that, even if it consolidated and then these couple days got going, but it's just too sideways and too choppy for me. Would have preferred a bit more volatility there. It's just a piece of trash. Like it should be back at 0. SMCI, do you avoid day 1 small cap gappers completely? I wouldn't say completely, but 95% of the time, yes. I don't trade them very often. I've said it on here where it seems very profitable if you can just avoid the opening chop. Because once you start moving risk down to high a day, like something like this even, where you get these opening range lows and it looks like it's failing, maybe now you feel like, I can risk high a day, and then you get swiped out, and then it ends up right back at lows anyways. Like this kind of move was happening to me so often, it was just frustrating me to no end. Aiden didn't retest highs, had that little swipe and stuff. So this one would have worked. But I was just getting, I wasn't getting enough size by risking like super wide. Like I know some people like to risk 40, 50% on their position. So something like Staff, if you short it at the open and then risk like 430, now you got $1 a share risk, and this thing, like sure you get $1 a share lower, so now you got a 1-to-1 trade with that risk reward. So risking $1 off of threes is a 30% risk, and then you can make $1 back down to the twos. But So you got to risk super wide so that you don't get stopped, but then the size that I trade by risking 30 or 40% is going to be so minimal when I can trade something like when the FFIEs like this come around and I just wait for something that goes multi-day runs like this and wait for that blow off. The range on something like that and the size I can get on it, you can pyramid into that and just scale, scale, scale. Or something like staff, I never have conviction one to sit through it, and then they swipe back and stop out any sort of tighter risk level. So they were just frustrating me, so I figured I'd avoid that for now. SMCI, thoughts on the bad news? Well, the bad news is kind of priced in now, like it's faded off. It got smoked down 50% and then just keeps going lower. Little relief rally today, but all in all, like it's probably keeps fading. A live Discord. I started up a Discord. I still have it sitting there because my private messages were getting flooded on Twitter. So I just opened up the Discord so that people could ask them publicly, and then it was easier for me to respond to them. But I hate using it. I don't go in there. Where I tend to talk most is in the Investors Underground room. I lay out my watches, narrowing it down from this list from the night before, narrowing it down pre-market before market opens, commenting live on what I'm doing and what the stocks are doing that I'm watching, and then having some fun in the lounge, asking questions, chit-chatting in PMs. This morning talking to Elkwood was pretty cool. We were discussing DJT and fund thesis because we were both trading those. So yeah, where my live comments are and where I spend most of my time is in the Investors Underground room. I like the room. That's where I recommend people go. I've tried a few others, and that's my favorite one by far. Good group for sure. I agree. Is Nate still in the room or is he slowly retired? He kept talking about trying to retire, and he's in there just as much as ever. He took a few, he'd leave early or something during the summertime when his kids were around. But now they're in school, he doesn't get off desk a whole lot. He's got a 20-year habit he's trying to break of being there 24/7. So he's in there every day. He hops on broadcast once or twice a week still, and he's commenting like crazy. I'm in the middle of answering questions in here. I am reading his chat logs and stuff from the day. Any China stocks on watch? No, I should reach out to some China scammers and see what's up. But no, I've got nothing in the pipeline. Those moves have kind of, since chasing, um, haven't received anything. Isn't that wild? They're alerting this thing down sub 3 and it's still sitting up at $10. Wild. Wild. 2 cents. Jeez. Some of these moves are crazy, man. Just getting smoked. My dog's looking for attention. Jumping on my back. So, yeah, plans for tomorrow. I'm not going to completely write off Playboy yet, although this is not the action here into close that I'd want to see for continuation. I expect this to fail, but on the off chance that it reclaims 140s, I'll just set some price alerts. Speeple will be looking higher the better for a parabolic op on the daily, and look to fade that back down in the coming days. VKTX higher the better, up towards 70, 68 to 70 range. GSAT multi-day runner yet to go red in 2 days, ideally one more day. If we get a big gap up and parabolic tomorrow, I'd look to fade that back red. ENSC, same kind of boat as Playboy. I just set price alerts up towards 80 cents. VSTE, possible break and build through 8. LTBR, using the past 2 days, prior support in the 7 range for a possible reversion back up towards this level there, towards 9, low 8s, 880, $9. GNPX, failed fall through, look for a break sub 2, and then look to scale into that to 180 as the final confirmation before round tripping. And then DJT and Fun, higher the better, back up into prior resistance. Tomorrow being the election, likely a sell the news event that I'm looking for there, and look for a failed fall through intraday setup. LGHL is on watch for Luke. LGHL is definitely not on watch for me. Like I say, you can have fundamental ideas, but until price confirms, I don't really care. Like something like Palantir, I haven't even looked at their earnings, but the reaction is positive. So I know that they had earnings, and I know the price is up, so it's positive. Is how I look at catalysts and whatnot. I like to know that they're there, but to know whether they're good or not is how the price reacts to it. So yeah, that's my watches there. I think pretty good review. Thank you guys for coming on. Good convo with Q there at the beginning. I appreciate that back and forth, and helps with my review process for DJT as well, how to maximize that a little better moving forward. So thank you guys for stopping by. As always, get in where you fit in, make some memories, and I'll see you guys in the room. Peace.